Hello everybody, my name is Strike. Welcome to the long overdue update video on my Toy Story collection, my Mr. Potato Head project, my life in general, and all that jazz. Long story short, it's been well over 2 years since I've uploaded a video to this channel, and it's really been well over 2 years since I did anything really Toy Story related until very, very recently. But last year, sometime I think late summer, early fall, maybe even midsummer, Seed Toys and Sid Toys, and I believe Cop from Instagram, all Toy Story custom toy makers from the community, band together and created the most accurate and affordable and honestly just satisfying Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head from the Toy Story films. This set I think cost around $300, and you got Mr. Potato Head, Mrs. Potato Head with all their parts in toy mode, plus a whole bunch of extras. There was also a deluxe set where you could get One-Eyed Bart and One-Eyed Betty accessories from the beginning of Toy Story 3, which I didn't really need, so I opted out of getting that version. But here it is, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head from the Toy Story films, as accurate as you're probably ever going to see them. It was a very limited production, and they did announce that they will not be doing any more. Now, before I get into this, I just want to let you know, I no longer have a phone tripod, and I don't have a camera out right now, but like an actual camera. This is being recorded on my phone, which is duct taped to a regular camera tripod, because I'm unprofessional and I don't have any of that stuff ready. But anyways, I just want to get into this real quick. It's going to be a quick review plus some comparisons to other potato heads that have come out over the years. I'm pretty excited about it. It might be a longer video, but oh well. First things first, let's get into Mr. Potato Head, who debuted in the Toy Story franchise in 1995 with the first Toy Story film. He is one of my favorite characters in movies of all time, one of my favorite toys of all time, and now in my toy collection, he is one of my favorite pieces that I have. This is a huge deal for me. When I was a kid, I wanted movie-accurate Toy Story toys so much. And I remember, like, asking my parents why Mr. Potato Head didn't have separate shoes or separate eyes, or why the parts looked different, because I noticed that kind of stuff as a kid, and my parents really just couldn't answer the question. They just kind of assumed it might have had to do with choking hazards. In reality, there's no excuse for the shoes, at least, and I really don't think the eyes are that big of a problem. There have been Mr. Potato Head parts over the years that have been smaller than those eyes, like the little flower that goes on Mrs. Potato Head's hat. But I digress. Let's talk about this guy now. I know Cop or KOP on Instagram had a set of potato heads out years ago that I think were higher quality plastics or maybe even resin. I don't know, because I never had them. They came in these super nice wooden boxes with movable pupils and stuff. I never really needed that. What I really needed was something closer to the actual Potato Head toy. Now, real quick, I do want to mention this Mr. Potato Head, I firmly believe, is a combination of two different eras of Mr. Potato Head, okay? I believe he's a combination of Mr. Potato Head from the 70s. This is the Romper Room version of Mr. Potato Head. And I firmly believe that he's also based on Mr. Potato Head from the 80s, because this is the 80s version of Mr. Potato Head. This is my childhood Mr. Potato Head. And I firmly believe that he is based on these two. Now, you can see, if I remove these glasses real quick, you can see that Mr. Potato Head here has some very similar features to his 70s counterpart. You can see the shape of the ears, the mouth being a big red smile, even though it's smaller on the actual toy, separate shoes, separate eyes, the big round nose. This Mr. Potato Head, what you see here is how I got him. I found him at a thrift store, and I decided I had one of these as a kid, but I had a fuller set. So I got him. Like, just look at that ear. Like, let's compare Potato Head ears for a second. Like, that's pretty similar, not exact, obviously, but that's kind of where it compares to the 80s version or even the 90s version of Mr. Potato Head, because that's where that style of plastic and shapes and colors comes from. And I definitely think that, you know, the Pixar guys, when they were making that movie, said they went to Toys R Us and just bought a bunch of toys. I firmly believe they just went and got some potato heads that were out at the time. And I'm sure since a lot of those guys were big toy collectors, they probably, somebody at least had this one for reference. That is my opinion on that. I don't know for sure if that's true, but that is just based on being obsessed with Mr. Potato Head for the past, how old am I? 28, almost 29. Pretty much the last 29 years of my life. I've always been a potato head guy. So, anyways, let's get those guys out of the way real quick. I just wanted to mention that. And let's talk about Mr. Potato Head. Now, this Mr. Potato Head is very, very accurate. I think all the shapes are great. The eyes are separate. The shoes are separate. We all know this already. If you've seen the pictures, you know that this Mr. Potato Head is just about as accurate as it gets. Now, one thing I will mention about this, I want to say what I think the flaws are, because this is almost completely perfect. However, there are some flaws. Now, you can tell just by looking at him that his shoes are uneven. That's how they sit in the potato body. There's no real way. I mean, he can kind of be balanced, but he's always going to have somewhat of a rocking motion. And I believe that has something to do with how the holes are cut into the body. Now, what's funny is, and maybe it has something to do with the shape of the shoes, Mrs. Potato Head does not have that problem. She sits flat as long as her shoes are on there straight. Mr. Potato Head, there's really no combination of turning the shoes that I can see that really gets him to lay flat. It seems like no matter what you do, he's going to have a rocking motion to him. Now, that kind of adds some character, adds some charm, but I can definitely see how some people might find this a little bit annoying, especially since Mrs. Potato Head does not have that problem. The other thing I will say about this guy is I have played around with him since I got him. I mean, he's a toy. He deserves to be played with. But I will say that over time, the more you mess with this potato head, the more you pull the parts off, the looser they become. Like, for the most part, his hands don't really stay up well anymore, which is fine. Like, I mean, it's a toy, so it's not going to be perfect. And if you do certain things, certain parts will get loose. And like this potato head in particular, if you do this, his eye pops out. Now, I think that's kind of cool because in the first Toy Story, that's the eye that pops out when Woody calls him out for being one-eyed Bart. So, like, if you take him and you're playing with him, how'd you know that was me? So, I just try not to do that too much because I did notice, like, there's a little scuff in his eye here and a weird little dent in his ear there, and I don't want to beat him up too much. I don't want to lose any of the paint or anything like that, or, you know, the coloring. So I try not to do that too much. Now, like I said, it's a potato head. He comes apart, which is what you want. So I'm going to start pulling him apart and like talk over the individual pieces very quickly. Now, this is the hat. Now, the hat comes and it has a peg, but it's a removable peg for if you want to take any photos of him not in, not with the peg. So, like, if you just want it to sit flat on the ground, or if you really just want to set it on his head, it will not stay put very well. It'll slide around and eventually fall off, most likely on the backside. But you take this peg. One side seems to be flat and one side seems to be rounded. You'll stick that in the hat and you'll twist it counterclockwise. And I feel like it's supposed to like pull down, but I don't think so. Now, one thing I will say that I run into a lot with this guy with the hat is when you go to take the hat off, it usually pulls the peg off with the potato head hole. So that is something that I've learned, like when you put it on, you want to take it off. It doesn't always work, but if you want to take it off with the peg, twist it and it'll come off like that. So that is the potato head hat. Now, real quick, I do want to compare these parts minus the mouth because I don't have the original mouth, but that doesn't really matter because they're vastly different, to the Mr. Potato Head collection parts from the Thinkway line. By the way, did you guys know that Thinkway is no longer in business as of 2023? I found that out recently. It's pretty sad. But anyways, let's compare him to some of the Toy Story collection Mr. Potato Head parts. Now, I do want to say, before getting into this, these are my original Potato Head Toy Story collection parts. As you can see, they're well loved, but it is not the original potato head body, which, as you probably know if you see my other videos, have been modified to try to make a more accurate potato head like this one, which I will tell you right now, that project's over with because I have these guys now. But I did want to do a quick comparison of the parts. Now, one thing you may notice about these parts is that they may have some clay in them from when I was trying to cast molds of these parts. And I don't know where the actual like true peg is, like the hexagon peg to sit that in the head properly, but whatever. The Sid Toy hat is a little bit wider, with not as much of a point. This one won't really sit on his head all that well. It's a little bit wider, but overall, the gist of it's there. It's a little more rounded edges on this one, and the brim sits a lot higher on this. Now, supposedly, these parts were made from actual Pixar digital data, so if you really want to believe that these parts are 100% accurate, then you might suggest that these ones are slightly less so, but I really don't care about how accurate those parts are for the most part. Really, it's about the fact that they exist the way that they are on this potato head. There's the hat. The eyes, I'm not even going to bother going over. They do not sit perfectly like flat against the potato. You'll see there's some curving there to kind of match the curvature of the potato body. And so that's how they sit in there nice and flush. Again, there's the other one. So those are the eyes. Now let's look at the nose real quick. Take the mustache off for now. Oh, come on. All right. So this is I think this is very accurate to the movie. I think this nose is great. And there's even a slight like bridge for the mustache, which the one on the Toy Story collection was a lot more exaggerated. And pardon me if these comparisons have already been made in other reviews. I tried not to watch any other reviews before doing this. I wanted to do kind of my own analysis of it. But I really like how the nose turned out on this guy. And it is solid orange. It's not pink on the inside. Then there's the potato head mustache, which Toy Story collection might be slightly more accurate aside from like the little peg holder on it. But really, it's so close. A, who cares? And B, you're going to barely notice the difference there. Like I said, the mouth, not going to really compare it to the Toy Story collection version. What I will compare it to, though, if I can reach it, is the Toy Story 4 Hasbro Mr. Potato Head. I pop his nose off. I guess I could have compared it to these other parts as I went as well, but oh well. All right. Comparing it to this mouth, you can see that this one's a lot rounder, a lot more of a darker red for whatever reason. The peg is stupid long. I'll never understand why that peg was so long on that mouth, but standard size peg. Now, I will say when I got this potato head, I had to sand the peg on this down pretty well because it did not want to go into this potato body. And I believe these guys engineered the potato bodies to be specific to Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. With that being said, this now sits mostly flush in the potato body. But I did notice when I unboxed these, which I did not record, that as I was putting together Mr. Potato Head, I started to realize that the body was wrong. So let's look at the ears real quick. The ones on the collection are very faded by the sunlight. But it's not a perfectly symmetrical shape on this one as it is on this one. And you will notice the top is wider on that one than the bottom, which I find very interesting. This is the correct orientation of the ears, by the way. I noticed a lot of people have a habit of putting the ears in like upside down. I've seen a lot of pictures. I think even the official some of the official photos had his ears in upside down, which that is not correct. If you look at it and compare it to the movie, that is not right. Ugh. And those are the ears. I like them. They're nice and pink. I don't think they sit perfectly angled to the actual movie toy, but I, again, don't really care all that much as long as they're accurate. More accurate than what we've gotten, at least. And those are the collection years. We already looked at the hat. I'm taking that off. Now let's look at the arms. The arms are very, very nice. They're at a pretty strong angle too, which I don't think is entirely accurate, but I think it suits this toy pretty well. You see the collection version had a nice curve to it, and the hands are slightly bigger. Although I think everything else is pretty close in size. You can see they're a little dirty. I'm gonna have to wipe those down somehow. But there's the right arm, at least. Again, peg is nice. And then there's the left arm, which is going to be the same comparison, just opposite. There's that. And then the eyebrows, the standard toy mode eyebrows, which are magnetic, that attach to the back. There's those. And before I get into the potato body, I want to look at the shoes. I do think the shoes are the most inaccurate part of this toy. These aren't shaped properly. If you look at the Toy Story collection shoes, I actually have a lot of casts of these shoes from the Toy Story collection Potato Head, and they are vastly different. Like, you can see the back is more narrow than the front. On this one, it's the opposite. Generally, shape-wise, like, they got a lot of the details accurate. And obviously, this is meant to be, like, it looks like it's injection molded like it is in the movie, where this is a mechanical piece almost with a lot of screw holes and stuff, but you can see just the shaping is inaccurate. Not the end of the world. The separate shoes are important to have. But let's get into the potato body here. So this is the Toy Story collection Mr. Potato Head body. And this is the replica Potato Head body. As you can see, he's a little bit wider on the bottom here. He's got some defined cheek work here. Seam going down the side, just like a classic Potato Head. He's got that classic Potato Head texture to him, too. The back, of course, is very inaccurate on the collection Potato Head. The top of him is also flatter on the collection Potato Head than it is on this version. I definitely think the trapdoor is very, very accurate. I'm not going to attempt to remove it. I know on the classic toy, you can take them out, and you can see up there where the magnets sit inside the plastic body. So there is a little bit more weight up there than the traditional Potato Head. But there's the back. Now, you can obviously store parts inside of him, but I'm not going to do that because I do not want to ding the parts up. You can see that's the noise, very aesthetically pleasing. But it's not something I'm going to do typically, with the exception of Mrs. Potato Head's purse. I do keep that in her hair compartment. Now, let's reassemble some of Mr. Potato Head here. He's going to put back on his hat, his shoes, and his ears because, like I mentioned before, we got extra parts with our Mr. Potato Head. And I'm going to go over them now. I keep all my parts in this container. Keep them organized. It just looks better than keeping them in bags. So, we got a whole onslaught of Mr. Potato Head eyebrows. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 extra Potato Head mouths, which I will get into in a second. And then we've got 3 other sets of Mr. Potato Head eyes, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half sets of arms. Now, the first one I want to go over here is a replication of a scene from Toy Story 3. I forget if it was a fist or... He's got the drooping muscle arm from that one shot in the movie. Let me bring out all the arms just to have it. Okay, now we're going to talk about the arms. So there's the drooping muscle arm, and I'm going to give Mr. Potato Head the fist on the hip for this because this arm is kind of, I associate that more with Mr. Potato Head than Mrs. Potato Head. And then I'm going to give him his frowning mouth, which is technically the only frowning mouth he has. Now, the thing of it is, all his extra mouths have some curvature to match the potato body. So if you take one of the happy mouths and flip it upside down, you can do that. It's not going to sit right, though. Just a fun fact for you there. He comes with a set of eyes that are looking down at the arm, which I like these eyes a lot because they don't have the eyelids and they kind of droop down for the droop down. They kind of look down. So like if you have him with all of his parts falling off, you can do that. I'm going to give him these eyebrows because they're kind of like shocked eyebrows, I guess. Or just kind of actually relaxed eyebrows. So actually, yeah. I'm going to give him those eyebrows. And then we're going to put his nose back on him real quick. And then there you go. Mr. Potato Head is shocked to see that he is not as strong as Twitch. I will never display him like this. I know some people do. It's fun and it's cool. But, I mean, there's other ways I would rather display him personally. So, I mean, it's very awesome that that's included. But again, not how I want to display him. What I like to do is kind of have his parts knocked off. Like, let's take his hat off and his nose back off. And we'll go with this eye and this ear. And then we'll just put in, like, this arm. Kind of, like, raise it like he's shocked. And we'll take, this is actually for Mrs. Potato Head for Toy Story 3 when she's missing her eye, but I like to put it on Mr. Potato Head, even though it kind of droops on him. Like I said, the parts are kind of loose now because I've messed around with them a bit much, but now he's like, oh no, my face fell off. And so you can see he's got like all his parts on the ground. That's fun for me. I like to do that kind of stuff. I always liked it when his parts got knocked off, like in the movie. Take his ear out like that. Like, hey, watch it, from Toy Story 1. You know, it's cool. Put his ear back in. Let's take those off. What other arms did we get? So I'm going to make him angry now. I'm going to give him these balled up fist arms that it came with. Get those in. This is where he's accusing Woody of knocking Buzz out the window or anything like that. His angry eyes are included in this set. Looking straight forward. He does have a set of angry eyebrows as well. The ends are raised to show his enragement at Woody. Now he's accusing Woody of knocking Buzz out the window. That's awesome. I love that. Very, very, very cool. Let me get this guy out of the frame. I'm talking about this guy. All of his parts too. These go away for now. Oh, toss that. All right, so there he is. He's angry. Sorry, I should center him more. He's angry Spud. His shoe's fallen off because it's loose now. But there's angry Mr. Potato Head. Now, let's make chill Mr. Potato Head, all right? I'm going to take his eyes off. Drop him down. Prepare to meet Mr. Angry Eyes. And then we shove a... Do I have a... Oh, I've got this set. These are molded shoes. But Mr. Angry Eyes. All right. Cool. Next is going to be... Let's just make chill Potato Head. We're going to give him a smile. If he's chill, he's probably got this mouth on. And then angry eyebrows come off. And we're going to give him the chill eyebrows back. And we're going to give him the chill eyes, like he's relaxed. You can take this off for a frown and make him complaining. We're going to give him some not so aggressive arms. We're going to use the open palm on hip arms that I typically put on Mrs. Potato Head. But there he is, you know, having a chuckle with Ham or whoever. And then you can also put the other mouths on him. So I like this one. This one's a nice big wide open mouth. That's probably better for like the wide open eyes, but you know, he's happy, he's chill. Getting kind of tense, aren't you? So that's fun. Take that off and just put the other toothy grin that he comes with, which I like this mouth a little bit more than the other one just because it kind of seems more like Toy Story 1 to me, and that's my favorite of the Toy Story series. But that's cool. I like that. It comes with all kinds of fun little parts. And, you know, that's what you want. It gives you a good balance of, you've got the toy mode parts, and that's how I will always display them, because toy mode was my favorite. But also, like, when you want to pull them out and play with them, you've got the option. You've got the option to sit here and turn them into an alive talking character. Now, pop those back off. And put in the toy mode eyes. Now he's really excited. He looks great. And I mean, he's great. I love this toy. It's just so much fun. Where did his other arms? Oh, here they are. Go. These are the arms I typically put on Mr. Potato Head. I don't know. Something about the fists seems more like Mr. Potato Head. He's a little bit more rage-induced than Mrs. Potato Head. So there he is, Mr. Potato Head from Toy Story. I'm going to slide him off screen for now and introduce the wife, the missus, the old ball and chain Mrs. Potato Head, who he had his hopes and ambitions for in the first movie. And a lot of arms. And he met her in Toy Story 2. And you'll notice her ears are much smaller than Mr. Potato Head's. Very, very small ears. She's got the same arms. And everything else is different. I mean, she doesn't come with nearly as many accessories. I did mention that she comes with that arm that I put on Mr. Potato Head to cover up her missing eye from Toy Story 3. The eye that saved the day. Her parts are a lot more stiff because I haven't played with her as much. She's been on display. But yeah, she can cover up her eye. See what Andy's doing. Eye back in. She does also come with her own extra parts. Like I said before, her purse is in her pouch. Now, this is a lot thinner than a traditional Mr. Potato Head or Mrs. Potato Head purse. It's also hard plastic for the most part. It's slightly pliable, but I'm not going to apply it too much. Same thing as Mr. Potato Head in terms of the inside of the potato body. It looks the same when you take all the parts off. The shoes, pretty accurate. I mean, I can't say that I've studied Mrs. Potato Head as much as Mr. Potato Head, but I will tell you right now, like looking across the room or even up close, for some reason, Mrs. Potato Head seems a little bit more accurate than Mr. Potato Head, and I can't put my finger on it. Maybe because Mr. Potato Head kind of changes over the course of the 4 movies, and Mrs. Potato Head pretty much consistent throughout all 3 movies that she's in. I do have a little nick on her eye down there, which is kind of sucks. Also, I will say it's a little strange. Her hat has a peg that is like solid, and it's in there and it's not coming out. I don't know what all this black stuff is, but her hat is one piece, so the flower doesn't come off. The yellow is there, but the peg is also there. So I'm kind of not 100% sure why they didn't do that with Mr. Potato Head, but whatever. Her eyebrows are also magnetic, and I will say she only comes with one other set of eyebrows, which are curved. She comes with 3 mouths. Oh, I'm sorry. She comes with 2 sets of eyebrows. I forgot I separated them. So let's get into her other pieces now. Popping out the eyes for her and her other set of eyebrows. So, all right. Sorry. Mrs. Potato Head comes with another set of eyes, 2 sets of eyebrows, 3 mouths. So 1, 2, 3. Easy to keep track of. Let's go ahead and pop her eyes back off. Her parts, again, are pretty stiff in comparison to Mr. Potato Head. And it's mostly because these pegs are just straight pegs. They're not like the original toy where for a long, long time... do I have a part handy? So over time, Mr. Potato Head parts have kind of changed to show... this one's rubber. It's not entirely noticeable, but it is not just a straight shot. It kind of widens out a little bit. A lot of parts started to do that so the parts would sit in there right. I didn't want to take the eyes out. Why did I take that? Well, I'm going to do it. Screw it. So we're going to go ahead and pop in her frown and her angry eyes that she comes with. This is the only other set of eyes she... Oops, dropped it. I'm also kind of terrified to handle the eyes, mostly because of the eyelashes. Because if you'll notice, the eyelashes are popping off of there. They're not completely flush to the eye, and it looks like they glued them in. So I'm very, very careful with her eyes, as much as I can be, because I'm scared to death I'm going to break those. All right, these eyebrows also are intimidating because I don't want to lose them. So I'm going to pop on her angry eyes and eyebrows. And let's get the, let's get the hands on the hips for her. She's very upset at Mr. Potato Head because he's been kind of checking Barbie out. That's not cool. I'm a married spud. All right, so that arm's very, very loose on her, but there she is. She's not happy. I will tell you right now, she comes with this arm. I think this is for her. And I think this is supposed to be a purse holding hand. Or it is an accessory that came with like the One-Eyed Bart, One-Eyed Betty set to hold something. But I really don't have a use for it. I'll pop it in just because. I think there's a specific way, and like it like pops up against her. So I don't know. I don't use that hardly ever. I'm putting that back in the bin. I'm also going to put this hand back in the bin since I've already showed you. But that's Mrs. Potato Head. Let's put the purse on. All right, there we go. Whatever. But you get the idea. It's Mrs. Potato Head and Mr. Potato Head back with her. Checking out Barbie. She's noticing. She's not happy about it. Whatever. Okay, so Mrs. Potato Head is angry, of course. So let's not make her angry. Let's make her happy, because her husband's happy. Happy wife is a happy life, right? So we're going to switch her eyebrows to... I'm going to switch the eyebrows to the regular kind of stationary, not the toy mode eyebrows, but like the... Is it like this? I forget. I think it's more like that. And I said earlier that I think the Mr. Potato Head bodies are different because of the magnet placement, I think is what it is, but I'm not 100% sure. So that's her toy mode mouth. I don't want that. This is my favorite Mrs. Potato Head mouth that she comes with. And even though it's not the toy mode mouth, I just think that's I think that's from an image, what am I trying to say? From one of the, man, what is the word I'm looking for? Promotional images. That's what I wanted to say. Promotional images. I'm pretty sure that's directly from one of those. But then she also comes with another smiling mouth. Pop off. Come on. Oh, give me the mouth. Come on. All right, that's how Lasso did it. Okay, cool. All right, let's pop this other mouth in. I also think this is from a promotional image, but you can see there's her smile there. Very, very nice. So now they're happy and they're together. So that's cool. Yeah, that's Mrs. Potato Head. That's all of her parts and accessories that she comes with. That's pretty much it. So with that being said, let's get into some comparisons. I definitely want to compare. I have more Mr. Potato Head stuff than I do Mrs. Potato Head. I'll say that right off the bat. I do not have as much Mrs. Potato Head right now. I would like to get more Mrs. Potato Head, but as of right now, recording this video, I don't. And that stinks, but it is what it is. Now that the potato heads are back into toy mode, I wanted to do some quick comparisons between different potato heads that I have, at least in my apartment right now. First things first, I'm going to do Mrs. Potato Head because I only have one Mrs. Potato Head handy, unfortunately. And that is going to be the Toy Story 4 Mrs. Potato Head, if I can reach her. Okay, here's Toy Story 4 Mrs. Potato Head. You can see I'm going to put the movie version over here. And then this is the classic. Well, classic. It's the movie release, like what Hasbro actually produced for Toy Story 4. Now, you can see the vast difference immediately. How Hasbro continues to release toys that are based on movies and nothing like the movie, for the most part, blows my mind. I will tell you right now, these are the most accurate for the most part. I don't even know if that's true, because the ones that were released for Toy Story 2, like the shoes are whatever. Like the shoes are as good as they're going to get. This mouth is pretty close. Like it's not horrible or anything, but you know, it's whatever. The nose is way off. The original Toy Story 2 version of the nose was way more accurate to this than this is. And then the ears are just stupid and bland. The hat is okay. I mean, it's pretty good for what it is, but I had to paint the yellow on there. And I think this, nope, that's not glued on. So never mind, that is not glued on. The eyes are ridiculous. I think the eyelashes are crazy. And then you get the traditional Potato Head arms that have always been around. And then I don't have the correct pouch on the back, so there's a huge color difference there, but I just think it's so silly. There's all of our extra pieces in the back too. I think it's so silly that this is what we are getting with the Potato Head toys. I think they're trying to make the potato bodies closer to a real potato size, but I really don't care about that. I want something that reflects what came from the movie. I'm not going to go over each individual part in comparison, because you can pause and look and just see how different they are. But the fact that we're not getting anything close to this, like if they released this, maybe you have to make the eyes one piece because of choking hazard stuff, or like include the eyebrows like attached to the eyes. That's fine, but give us something more like what the movie version is, not this. This is ridiculous. I'm really scared for when Toy Story 5 comes out. They're just going to reissue these and they're going to be nothing like what we get in the movie. But there's my quick comparison of Mrs. Potato Head to the Toy Story 4 version. Now with Mr. Potato Head, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to move a little bit back. I'm going to move backwards on Mr. Potato Head, because I just compared Mrs. Potato Head to her Toy Story 4 counterpart, and I want to do the same thing with Mr. Potato Head, who I have here. Now I will tell you right now, this Potato Head from Toy Story 4, the only thing that is not original to the Toy Story 4 version of this toy is his shoes. I used an older pair of shoes, the softer, pliable, almost like rubber material, because A, the color is way off. This was like a piercing, like baby blue color, and it looked awful. But I also cut them up in attempts to make movie accurate shoes years and years ago. So again, with Mrs. Potato Head, the potato body is the same shape, the ears are the same shape, and the hands are the same as they've been since the 90s, just a harder material. The eyes are that droopy, sad, I'm looking down. Now, I believe this guy came with, yeah, he came with a classic mustache piece. Like, they changed some pieces over the years, but then they kept some of them the same. So these aren't even technically the arms that came, or technically they're not the arms that come out with like a regular Mr. Potato Head nowadays. These are reused for the Toy Story version. So he's kind of got eyebrows. This is something they've been doing since the first movie came out, is just using that mustache as a pair of eyebrows, which it's fine, but like it looks like a unibrow and I just don't really get it. But anyways, I mean, there he is. That's Mr. Potato Head from Toy Story 4. He is what he is. I mean, the mouth, and like I said before, in terms of Hasbro produced, these are the most accurate Toy Story parts they've ever made, aside, well, not even aside from the mustache. Like, it's close, but it's so different. Like, look at the mustache and how, like, non-symmetrical it is. It's just weird. Like, whatever. It's fine. But anyway, let's jump back in time to the 90s. We're going to talk about Mr. Potato Head. I'm going to steal the mustache off this other Potato Head that I had. And we're going to talk about the original Mr. Potato Head for the movie, which I'm going to tell you right now, in case anybody out there believes this, these parts were not made for the Toy Story movie. These parts were around since the 80s for like the Bucket of Parts release and stuff. But this is a Toy Story Mr. Potato Head from the 90s. This is specifically a Toy Story 2 Potato Head, but it was all the same parts from the Toy Story 1 Potato Head. And if you didn't know this, there's a Mr. Potato Head promotional release that had a Toy Story sticker just slapped on a standard box, and it just came with the classic Potato Head with like the red nose and the teeth and the regular eyes and the green hat. Actually, I think the green hat and the red shoes, the colors were swapped. So he had green shoes and a red hat or blue hat or whatever. But this is like in essence, this is the original Toy Story Potato Head. So you can see the big differences here. The mustache has all kinds of crazy detail compared to the one for the movie. Now, I want to point out that, again, these parts were in existence before Toy Story came out. So, like, when they were producing Toy Story, they probably had some of these parts on hand. I'm going to move the camera a little bit. They probably had some of these parts on hand as like a basis as what they wanted to do in combination with those other potato heads I showed earlier. But the thing of it is, like, the hat is extremely close. The nose is like the same, like the nose, the mustache, the ears, the arms, they're all pretty close, but they probably just had some limitations of sculpting those exact shapes so that this is what they came up with. Or they just wanted to kind of make it purposefully slightly different than what the actual toy was. However, Hasbro did not deliver and give us something closer to what we got in the movie. They gave us this, which is just reused parts, which is fine. It makes sense. And, like, honestly, this is a classic potato head look. So I'm not mad about the fact that they just reused parts. I'm just mad that they never made, like, a collector's edition that was this instead of this. They just constantly reused this over the years. Even when the Toy Story collection came out, we didn't get something like that. Now, I am going to go back to the 80s real quick and bust out my childhood potato head with the bendy arms that many, many people have been cutting up over the years since I made that one video and, you know, defiling a classic. Now, these things, there's probably like hundreds of them out there, so it's probably not the worst thing in the world, but the more people go out of their way to do that, the less of these there will be. And I do have a handful of these around, and I just want to keep them intact. Like, this one in particular is my childhood potato head. I'm not going to do anything to these arms. I've got another one that I had on my Mrs. Potato Head, my Toy Story Mrs. Potato Head for years. Didn't ever do anything to those arms. Now, obviously, these parts are different, but this is just how Mr. Potato Head commonly looked in the 80s, with the bendy arms, the kind of cross-eyed look. Everything, for the most part, was a softer plastic and pliable. But I definitely think, like, this guy had some part in the design choices for Mr. Potato Head in the Toy Story movie. But obviously, there's a lot of differences here. They definitely had the bucket that had more of these parts in it when they did it. But I definitely think this is your inspiration for the arms in the movies. I mean, they move so much and change their shape so much that he had to have had bendy arms in the movies, which this version doesn't have, but that's okay. I will tell you right now, if you have modded bendy arms like the ones in my videos, here's one. The other one, the peg is falling off and I haven't fixed it yet, but you can put classic potato head parts on this guy. It just, they don't sit right sometimes. Like, I don't know why this is popping out now, but the scaling looks weird. The hands are too small, so it's not exactly ideal. I'm perfectly fine with the solid arms on this guy. And then I already did kind of a comparison with the 70s Mr. Potato Head. As you know, some very similar parts here. I definitely think that there was inspiration. I think there was a mouth that came with the Romper Room Potato Heads that was a little bit smaller and a little bit more like that beginning scene in Toy Story 1, where it was kind of pursed lips on them. But I definitely think, like, the separate eyes, the shoes, the shape of the ears, the mouth, the nose, that kind of stuff was definitely some kind of inspiration for the Toy Story 1 design of Mr. Potato Head. And one more potato head comparison I want to make before I go to something else is the 60s potato head, which is way different. More like the original potato head from the 50s. This guy included a plastic potato instead of a real potato, so that kids wouldn't put real potatoes on their Mr. Potato Heads and let it rot like yours truly did when he was a kid. My parents bought me an original potato head set, and I left, like, cucumbers and potatoes in the box, and it, like, ruined it all because I just left them in there and didn't do anything with them, and they molded. So, again, separate shoes, separate eyes. These parts are way smaller than anything we've gotten since, so, like, you can imagine these were probably more so of a choking hazard. I mean, that's probably not pleasant to go down the throat. And I mean, the pipe is a pipe. But yeah, I got this guy at a thrift store too. He was like $20 or something like that. I'm very glad I got him. There's a random, like, manufacturer defect here. Oh, man. Part of me wants to... Oh, my God. That's funny. He's a horror movie character now. He's looking at you all crooked. But no, that's your 60s Mr. Potato Head. I did not have one of these as a kid. I did not get one of these until I was an adult. This is a very recent purchase. This is the only era of Mr. Potato Head I did not have growing up. So it's very cool to finally have him. His little cowboy hat needs a bath, I think. But there he is. And then one more comparison real quick. It's not technically a finished product, but I know some of you have probably wanted to see this in comparison to this potato head that I own now. And that is the Project Potato Head from all those years ago that I never finished because it was a huge pain in the butt. But there he is. The blind squirrel props eyes, the eyebrows that I made and molded, the mustache that I made and molded, and then the Toy Story 4 nose and mouth with some clay in the back and the pouch, probably that belonged to Mrs. Potato Head. And yeah, there he is. He is never going to be finished. I do not know what I'm going to do with this. I might ship him off to a friend who might do some project work with him, but honestly, and no, I have not tried to put these parts on this guy. I probably won't either. I mean, the holes are wide enough here. I kind of wonder what this guy would look like with all these parts on it, though. Would he look more accurate or would it look worse? I don't know. Interesting thought. But nevertheless, I'm not really going to do it. And really, like, at least this shape for Mr. Potato Head from Hasbro should not be undoable. I mean, this is very, very close to a classic potato body. It's just the Toy Story shape. And you don't even necessarily need to, like, you can reuse the Toy Story 4 parts even, minus the eyes, because, like, I don't know, that looks silly. But, I mean, come on. Like, these blind squirrel props eyes, I'm sorry, they're bigger. Like, if you molded it with the eyebrows on it, they're bigger or just about as big as this mouthpiece is. And I know the peg was super long, probably to deter people from choking on that. Just make the eye pegs longer. I don't know. Just do it, Hasbro. It's not that difficult. Even if it's an adult collector's version, it should be possible. But that's my collection potato head. This is the original collection potato head that I bought way back in 2010. I don't remember. I think Mr. Potato Head was a birthday present. Buzz I got with birthday money, and Woody I had to shred paper at my grandma's house to earn the money to buy Woody. Woody and Buzz were cloud logos, and Potato Head was white logo, because I think that's the only version that they released. But that's your Mr. Potato Head comparison. I'm probably never going to paint this mustache black. So maybe I'll put it on eBay or something and see if anybody wants it. But yeah, I definitely think that this made my dreams come true. This is the Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head that I have wanted since I was a kid. And the price for these guys was not that bad. I mean, it was about $300, $400, something like that. That's like $200 per potato head. Not even that, less than that. And I mean, shoot, a Hot Toys figure costs about $250, $300 nowadays. So like, definitely well worth it for the money and completing that childhood dream. And they look great on the Toy Story shelf with my other Toy Story characters. I do want to let you guys know that even though the Potato Head project is not going to continue, Woody and Buzz are still going to have some modifications done to them recently. Here's a little bonus for you. I just realized I had a picture of me probably about 10 years ago at the Toy Story Mania ride with the animatronic Potato Head. I was very, very happy to see him. So I'm going to put there between the potato heads. There we go. So yeah, I'm very glad that I have accomplished this dream. These potato heads mean a lot to me, and I am so glad I own them. But anyways, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe for more. I should be doing some videos, not immediately, but in the near future. I think I want to get back into this a little bit. But thank you all so much for being patient with me and waiting for this video, and, you know, subscribe if you want to see more. Also, put down in the comments, I actually have some ideas for some videos involving Mr. Potato Head. Not these potato heads, but like classic toys. Maybe I'll do some reviews on classic potato heads. If you'd like to see that, please comment it below that you want to see that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.